Here we are at the beginning of February, and I thought it'd be a good time to catch up again and go through some hobby goals and activities that I've been doing, but maybe even expand that a little bit more and go into intentions for the whole year of 2014. I don't want to make it sound like a New Year's resolution or a hobby resolution, and you'll see why here in a bit, because the goals that I have are sort of staggered out over the course of the year and overlap a little bit from last year. So to kind of summarize that and maybe put that in perspective, we'll go through a few different projects that I'm doing and how they're collaborating with other people's projects. But maybe one thing non-hobby related that I'd like to get out of the way first is this. So here I am. I'm a forever Bronco fan. Have been for ages, even before they won their first couple years and years ago. But despite having a fantastic season and doing all the things right leading up to Super Bowl Sunday, or so it seemed, I got to apologize. I want to apologize to the football world for the poor showing. I mean, all the fans that spend their time and money getting geared up for Super Bowl and expecting a good party. As a forever Bronco fan, I am sorry that it turned out that way and it was a dud of a game. But I'm still a Bronco fan, and I always will be a Bronco fan because I'm no bandwagon jumper about that. But I wanted to get that off my chest, so thanks for listening to that plea, I suppose. Plea and half-ass apology. So anyway, on to things. What I've been spending most of my time doing over the last several months since August is on these dudes, my little Skaven friends. So still plugging away at that. What sort of prompted me to go more dedicated to this was a blog and a challenge that Malorian put up onto Warseer, and this began in August. And the goal with this one is to do 2,400 points over the course of 12 months at a rate of 200 points per month. I'm pretty pleased to say that I have just reported in my 6 month of progress, and I'm over 2,000 points already with that. And when we calculate all that stuff, it's without upgrades, magic items, none of that counts in there. Just last week, I finished 8 Rat Ogres, which would balloon me to 2,500 points. So I'm well ahead of the game as far as that challenge goes, but I'm still going to keep going because, of course, there's so many other Skaven to paint. Part of what's going to keep me going with that as well is there's another online forum hosted by the the podcast of Warhammer. Many of you probably listen to that. If you haven't, and you're a hobbyist, more so than a competitive tournament gamer, that's the most enjoyable listen when you're doing your painting and inspiring you to do some good things. So I recommend them. But their challenge is a January to December 2014 challenge. The goal of 2,400 points is the same. It doesn't have any kind of monthly check-in or requirement for you to do X number of points per month, but it leaves the onus upon you to do updates with some regularity, and so I'm doing that. I prepared this little video actually of all the things that I might paint over the course of the year. What I did is I pulled all kinds of stuff out onto the table and laid it all out. So I have all the Skaven junk that I haven't done yet. I have a bunch of High Elf things that I would like to do. And then I have a few Empire bits and pieces. So let's maybe take a break. I'll show you that right now. And then we'll come back afterwards and we'll talk a little bit about gaming objectives too for the rest of the year. Well, I've already started well into the Skaven, but here is a look at a gander of all the other stuff that I got to paint this year. I kind of do intend to get through virtually all of this in 2014. So let me describe to you what I got. Already assembled up in here, and in the trays, all the unprimed stuff. That's all for making slaves. And then down here, the primed stuff, you can see that there's a few more weapon teams and command groups, as well as a handful of warlock engineers along the bottom row. Got a spare doom wheel
Box is a bit mashed apparently, but I'm going to work through that. And then in this one here, this is actually 2 times Island of Blood. So there's 80 more clan rats slash slaves in there. Moving up along here, this pack of loose sprues is some storm vermin. So there's enough to do 10 there, but plus this box as well. So I'll have double up on them. I'm using plague monks in the back there. Honestly, don't know if I'm ever going to do those, because I'm not too interested in going the plague way. I got a mandatory screaming bell going on there, and in this baggie is 25 giant rats. 3 heroes right there, so that's going to be the Skaven portion of things. Also along the way, I do have a few more things to tackle with the Empire. I'm one of those few guys in the world that has a giant Empire army but 0 painted demigryphs at this point, so here's enough to do 6. And then I got these cool heroes for Christmas time. The Beast Wizard actually is the only wizard that I don't have painted. I got all the other 7. Well, actually I use a Radagast model from Lord of the Rings to do this guy currently, but this particular model is going to do a better job. And I already have this guy done up as a Celestial Hurricanum, so I'm going to do that box version in the form of the Luminarch. And then also along the way, I do have a few more whittly things to do with the High Elves, including some Silver Helms. That loose batch of sprues right there, that is 10 Reaver Knights. And then down here below, 10 Sisters, another handful of Archers, and finally, if I want to flesh it out and do a second unit of White Lions, because I got 40 already, but no second command, so if I want to split them up into multi-units, then I'll do these guys.
So when I laid all that stuff out, I first looked at it and I thought, holy crap, I got a lot of stuff. I almost said a bad word there. I got a lot of stuff. And then I kind of cooled it a little bit, and I thought, you know what? I'm not alone here. Everybody's got a lot of stuff. I think anyone that's been involved in this hobby for more than a handful of years has a giant accumulation. But I feel like that's attainable, actually. After I did this video and I went back and looked upon all the stuff that I did in 2013, I actually painted pretty close to $5,000 worth of stuff between a few different armies. You know, spotting in with a few projects here and there. Aside from the Skaven and High Elves, there were some Empire things done. There was even some Orcs and Goblins things done. So, you know what? It's not out of the realm of possibility. It's not out of reach, I don't think. So I'm encouraged by that. So moving on from painting and hobby goals that are mainly related to that, I want to look forward to a little bit of gaming stuff. For the past couple of years, I've been involved in playing tournaments with some regularity here in Alberta, between Edmonton and Calgary, and I even went and did one in Saskatoon. Having this new army on the go, it also made me reflect back upon all the other armies I have. So I'm going to have the opportunity, going pretty deep into this season, without having to play with the same army twice. So I started off with doing an event with Empire. That was in October. Oh, I guess I should explain that too. And it's just sort of like not a staggered, and what points out it's not just a 2014 affair. Is we started the tournament play season in October, and that would go until August of 2014, and so it's through that time that I'm talking about. So I started out with Empire in October. I did an event in December with High Elves. January was a smaller point affair, so I actually dug out the Orcs and Goblins, who I hadn't played in about 2.5 years. Painted a couple more models for those and tried to learn how to work them. There's another one coming up next weekend where I'm going to represent with the Tomb Kings. And then later on in February, there's going to be the inaugural Skaven Tromping. So I'm going to hit them on the field finally. And then beyond there, there's another event in March to go to, as well as in either late April or early May. So there's 2 more to go there, and I've got in the wings Wood Elves that I haven't played with yet, and I also got an Ogre Kingdom's army that can show their faces. Again, I don't play with those a whole lot, but I'm going to run them all out there. And throughout all this, you may remember from the past video that I talked about an Alberta GT circuit. So all of these fit into that. And playing those games, you accumulate points for that eventual GT. And you got to qualify for it by being in the top 20 of those points. Going to be a little challenged for me, obviously, with one of my goals is to play a different army. I'm not going to have any consistency in there. I'm not going to be able to learn from one event to carry it over to the next. And I'm okay with that. I think it's one of these things where if you show up and you don't totally tank, then and if I go to most of them, I should be within that range. If I don't, it's not the end of the world. Although I finished 6th last year, I don't have great aspirations to be the king of Alberta in those kinds of things. So I'm not too terribly concerned about that as far as a gaming goal. The other thing gaming-wise that I've picked up on the last couple of months, and I'm really, really stoked about, is doing the Triumph and Treachery. I'm a social gamer for the most part, and so in my basement having 5 to 6 guys come over and push models around and shout at each other and roll some dice and have a laugh is the ideal way to do it. I far prefer that than going for a 2-day or even a 1-day tournament and grinding it away. So that's been joyous, and if you guys have not played it, embrace it. Absolutely embrace it, and use those trickery cards to mess with one another and subterfuge and chatter around the table to build alliances and break alliances. All that stuff is so wonderful, and it's something that I'm going to encourage all of you to do. Got a game of that coming up on Monday night, actually, because I have a friend visiting in town, and Malorian's been teasing me about making battle reports, so I'm kind of going to put it out on a limb here that I might try to do a Triumph and Treachery battle report for that. I'm going to try my hand at it, at least, and see how it goes. It may be a giant failure, but, whatever. Now, also beyond that, the thing that I want to gear up with another fellow in Edmonton is to do a campaign for Warhammer amongst a group of trusted friends that will be committed to it. We did try one in the fall, but unfortunately it was kind of cobbled together maybe too quickly and just took whoever expressed interest. But that tended to fall apart, much like many campaigns do, when a couple of guys just lose interest and they can't commit themselves to play games, and you have everybody else that's waiting for those 1 or 2 guys to get their stuff done so that we can move on and progress. And then, unfortunately, with their delays, the people that were actually dedicated kind of lose interest as well because they haven't played a Warhammer game in 3 weeks or a month because they're waiting on these other guys. So, going to hit the reset button on that. We're going to have a talk about that over the weekend and in the next little bit, and I may have a bit of a summary to share with all of you about what our intentions for the campaign are as it goes forward. So I think that's all I wanted to say in this round. So there's some expectations and goals for the next little while. I know that many of you will hopefully have some of those goals too. If you want a little bit of motivation to do it, maybe have a look in at Warseer on the group project logs there at the Fantasy Painters one that's hosted by Malorian, or if you go to garagehammer.net and jump in on theirs. It doesn't require that you jumped in any of those things earlier. You can join in at any time and keep up progress and get some encouragement from the community. And that's why we're all here, encouragement from the community. So I hope you enjoyed this little view into my hobby world, and we'll catch up again in a little while.